And she's doing fair.
There's 20 people online right now. Do you see it? Right here?
Yeah.
21.
Thank you, Felice. Hope you're doing okay.
That's
Yeah, just blood pressure up and down, but it's normal.
Okay.
Normal going up and down.
Got it.
Yeah, nothing serious.
Okay, good.
Yeah, good to see you. Hi, Judy.
Hello.
Traber. Judy, I never knew that's your last
Trying
name.
to adjust my hearing aids. Nothing is very clear.
Okay. Good to see you. Jane, Lashona Tova. Good to see you.
How you doing?
Judy, I'm doing fine. How about you and Danny? No,
Danny,
Danny, yes.
we're okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
I put this on TV volume. I don't know what's going to work.
Here's always.
I have no idea. Hi, Jane.
Hi.
Jane.
It's Jane, yeah, I haven't seen Jane, but the Halleck's
Your person.
I have seen in Temple, and we're all on Zoom now, zooming in and out of Temple.
Wonder.
Boy, there's
how
already a lot of people on.
yeah, I wonder how many people are going to be
25.
in services.
25.
Oh, is that all?
No,
That's
25
what it's
online.
He's
Oh,
showing it to me
25
down there.
online. Oh. Huh.
Well, it's good to see some people at Temple.
I can recognize Carol Lee anywhere. There she is.
Yes.
Even from behind or the side.
Is that Cantor Bob or who is that?
With Ruth, no,
Yeah.
no, that looks like,
Oh, you're right. It's not Cantor Bob.
oh, I can't, geez.
Huh.
They're the Richards, good. Regina and Irv. God, I'm forgetting names, not seeing people in person.
I know that's part of the effects of the pandemic.
Right.
And if you haven't had COVID, you can't remember who's who because you haven't seen them for 3 years now.
Well, that's a good excuse rather than a senior moment.
Yeah,
There's
senior
Susan.
moment.
One
I use
more.
that as a last resort.
Yeah,
Oh,
these aging moments.
Yeah, right.
Yellow hair?
Jane, have you signed up for OSHA classes?
No, there wasn't anything I liked that we're still not doing. We're only being online right now because of
You see her drink and
Fernando's radiation for cancer.
Right,
And we didn't like anything that they had on Zoom at all.
okay, how is he
So
doing?
we're just taking care that his immunosystem won't be compromised in any way. That's all. We're just
And
being
you-
very careful.
And yours as the caregiver.
Mhm,
Yeah,
yeah.
good.
But I'd love to see you. Do you go out for lunch at all?
Sure.
Well, I will email you and we'll make a lunch date. I
I'd
would
love
really
that.
Like
But,
that.
I'd love that, Jane.
Yeah,
Yeah,
'cause I've done some research in biblical studies. I think you'd be interested in.
great. Okay.
Yeah.
I've written a memoir and I'm on my third revision or updating it with
Wow.
additions, yeah.
Good for you.
And teaching a citizenship class, which I'm enjoying.
Is that for the new immigrants?
Well, anybody that signs up, the people that I'm working with through Riverside County Literacy Services have been in not merely U.S. but in in the IE for from 2 years to 20 years.
Oh, wow.
And they're motivated to now take citizenship class.
Online.
Oh, that's great.
They do.
Yeah,
Sure, you're
34
terrific.
down here.
Mhm.
34 participant online. Oh, a lot of people attending the services.
Yeah, I'd have to send in their vaccination thing
Oh,
before
I
ready
don't
to
want
go.
to do it. She's a rabbi.
this rabbi.
She is old and she's not that old. She doesn't
Letting her
die
hair go.
and she doesn't die at all.
Mm-mm.
Shana Tova. It's so nice to see so many people in the sanctuary again. Yes, we can clap or do whatever. Yeah, it's really lovely because Friday nights we get very few people and it's nice to have a community, right? And to see each other in person. So I'm going to ask the people on Zoom to please make sure you're muted. And there they all are, nice black squares. Yay. Okay, I'm going to begin on page 22 of the introduction, so 22 in Roman numerals, XXII. On the Yamim Noraim, which is in the last paragraph, we're stripped naked. During the high holidays, the God of the Machzor, which is our high holiday prayer book, demands that we have no pretensions in regard to who we are as human beings. We're presented with the two sides of human existence, with our weaknesses as well as our strengths. As an oft-quoted Jewish teaching has it, we must always remember that the world was created for our sake. At the same time, we're told that we are but dust and ashes. On the high holy days, our prayers recognize this dual truth by asserting, on the one hand, that our inexorable fate as human beings is to sin and fall short. However, despite our human frailty, our infinite worth and our ability for transformation is constantly affirmed. The high holy days instill in those of who are so accustomed to competition and success a much needed humility. At the same time, our prayers also encourage us to believe that we are not mired in unchangeable patterns and that we can change and grow. Prayers such as the Unatana Tokaf remind us how limited we are in controlling our fate, that we do not control who will live and who will die. Yet the concluding words of that same prayer remind us that through teshuvah, return to the right path, tefillah, prayer, and tzedakah, righteous giving, we can transcend the harshness of the decree, reminding us of the power that we possess as human beings. Even as our limitations are fully exposed, our capacity and obligation to turn from our old ways and habits and forge new paths is affirmed. Page 5. If you go to the bottom of the page, Rabbi Laura Geller's little piece here. Your book of life doesn't begin today on Rosh Hashanah. It began when you were born. Some of the chapters were written by other people, your parents, siblings, and teachers. Parts of your book were crafted out of experiences you had because of other people's decisions, where you lived, what schools you went to, what your homes were like. But the message of Rosh Hashanah, the anniversary of the creation of the world, is that everything can be made new again, that much of your book is written every day by the choices you make. The book is not written and sealed. You get to edit it, decide what parts you want to emphasize and remember, and maybe even which parts you want to leave behind. Shana Tova means both a good year and a good change. Today you can change the rest of your life. It is never too late. Page 11. I'd like to call up Lori Magnus, who is our sisterhood representative on our board, to light our candles.
Don't say a word. Be nice to them.
Use the light first, and then you can say the blessing.
Okay, I
Speak
can
into
read
the-
one of these.
Sure. Speak into the mic, otherwise I can't hear you on Zoom.
Creation's brightest light, the mystics say, was hidden at the dawn of time. But on this sacred night, this night of hope and joy, a glimmer of that light is here. In candles' flame, in children's eyes, in eyes aglow with wisdom's light. It shines in the faces of the ones we love, in grateful hearts and tears of loss. It lives in the memories of goodness and in our own desire to do right. To try again, to build anew, to ask forgiveness and make peace, we enter this new year and look upon the beauties of these lights so many. So may the days of awe renew the light within us.
What? Light the candles, and you do the blessing. And it's Shel Yom Tov, it's not Shabbat.
Yeah, okay.
Light the candles first.
Okay. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel yom tov.
Amen. Thank you very much, Lord.
You're welcome.
And if you'll turn to page 79, but keep your finger over here because we're going to come back. The Kiddush is on page 79, which the cantor is going to lead.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam אשר בחר בנו מכל עם, ורוממנו מכל לשון, וקידשנו במצוותיו. ותיתן לנו אדוני אלוהינו ביבוא את יום הזיכרון הזה, יום זיכרון קודש, מקרא קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים, כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ולך אמת וכל יום לעד. ברוך אתה אדוני מלך הכל הארץ, מקדש ישראל ביום הזיכרון. אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה.
We rise and continue on page 15.
תגהו בחר שופר, בכסל יום חגנו, כי
Please be seated and please turn to page 16 and please read that silently.
Take that off the screen.
הנני העני ממס, בני רשע ונפחדת מפחד, יושב תהילות ישראל, באתי לעמוד וכנן לפניך על עמך ישראל אשר שלחוני.
page 19, and we rise. If you're able. If you're not able, rise in your spirit. Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, yehi ratzon shenizke levirchotecha, bishnat chameshet alafayim sheva meot u'shmonim u'shalosh. Our God and God of our ancestors, may we know your blessings in the year 5783. Eternal One, bless us and the whole house of Israel with renewed life, happiness and peace, comfort and courage, resilience and strength. May the words of our heart be acceptable to you in the new year that stretches before us. We are forever grateful for the gift of life. And now please remain standing as I call up Dean Young and Wendy Golliff to open the Ark for the Baruch Hu on the next page.
Must be recorded.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach, HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Please be seated and please turn to page 23 at the bottom. The quickening of the moon calls us to return, and we gather seam dwellers on the edge of the earth. As the sun lowers itself into the sea, introspection rises. A sliver cracks the heart of the firmament, the vast blackness and invitation to right ourselves anew.
Baruch atah Adonai, Amariv Aravim.
Page 24, Ahavat Olam. It's a video. Oh.
El Chai v'Kayam, Tamid Yimlach Alenu L'Olam Va'ed, Baruch Atah Adonai, Amariv Aravim.
Israel,
Ohev Amo
Please rise for the Shema, page 26.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem, Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed.
And you may be seated again, except for Carol Lee, who will lead us in the Ve'ahavta on pages 28 and 30.
Okay, good. Okay. Oh, I get it. Oh, okay, I see. Wow. It's so nice to see all of you. So, I want to hear all of you. Okay? So, chant with me, please. V'yahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha uv'chol nafshecha uv'chol meodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavcha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha uv'kshartam le'od al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha Uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha laman tizkaru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai vitem kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzetiechem Me'eretz Mitzrayim, liot lachem, le'elohim, ani Adonai Elohechem. Thank you. I heard you. It was great.
Please turn to page 33. Bottom of the page. You have stayed long enough in this place, God said. Time to go forward. Turn your face to the future. Believe that you can cross this sea and survive. Inside you is a Moses. Within you, Miriam dances, unafraid. Lift up your voice and sing a new song, which is the Michamocha on the next page.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורות והילות אוסף אלה, מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקעים לפני משה ומרים, זה לי אנו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונעשה כי פד אדוני אל יעקב, וגלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
The next page. One day, a few days after the liberation, I walked through the country past flowering meadows for miles and miles toward the market town near the camp. Larks rose to the sky, and I could hear their joyous song. There was no one to be seen for miles around. There was nothing but the wide earth and sky, and the lark's jubilation and the freedom of space. I stopped, looked around, and up to the sky, and then I went down on my knees. At that moment, there was very little I knew of myself or the world. I had but one sentence in mind, always the same. I called to Adonai from my narrow prison, and God answered me in the freedom of space. Next page.
ובצל כנפיך תסתירנו, ובצל כנפיך תסתירנו, כי אל שומרנו, כי אל שומרנו, ומצילנו אתה. כי אל שומרנו, כי אל שומרנו, ומצילנו אתה.
Page 39. The pond in winter. Standing on the snow-covered plain, as if in a pasture amid the hills, I cut my way first through a foot of snow and then a foot of ice, and open a window under my feet where, kneeling to drink, I looked down into the quiet parlor of the fishes, pervaded by a softened light as through a window of ground glass, with its bright sanded floor the same as in summer. There, a perennial waveless serenity reigns as in the amber twilight sky, corresponding to the cool and even temperament of the inhabitants. Heaven is under our feet as well as over our heads. The Hatzi Kaddish is the next page.
Supposed to be a video.
Video.
יתקדש שם רבה. ובחיי ישראל בגב זמן קריב ואמרו אמן יהי שם רבה מברך לעולם Vipar Vidroman Vidnase Le'ela ulehem תעבירן בעלמא ויאמרו
And we continue with the tefillah, which is on page 42, 44, 46. You have to skip to get to the next part of the prayer, and we rise.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu va'imotenu Elohi Avraham, Elohi Yitzchak, Elohi Yaakov, Elohi Sarah, Elohi Rivka, Elohi Leah, Elohi Rachel, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'Hanara, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, ve'Koneh Hakol, ve'Zocher Chasdevot ve'Imahot, Umevi Goel Livnei Vanehem Laman Shemo Be'ahava Zochreinu L'chaim Melech Hafetz B'chaim V'chodvenu B'sefer L'chaim Zochreinu L'chaim Melech Hafetz B'chaim Lamancha Elohim Chaim Melech Ozer Moshiach Umagen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham Ve'ezrat Sarah Amen Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai Mechayei HaKol Atah Rav Lehoshia Morid Hatov Mechalkel Chaim B'chesed Mechayei HaKol B'rachamim Rabim Somech Noflim V'rofech Olim Umahatir Asurim Umekayem Emunato Mishenei Afar Michamocha Ba'al Givorot U'mida Melach Melech Meimid U'mechayeh U'matmiach Yeshua Michamocha El Harachamim Zocher Yetzurav L'chaim berachamim L'chaim berachamim V'nemar atah l'chayot hakol Baruch atah Adonai Mechayei hakol Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh V'kdoshim b'chol yom yalucha Selah.
Please continue silently, and we're going to continue on page 70 when we're done. So you can use your own words of your own heart, or you could look at some of the prayers on those pages. And when you're done, you may be seated, or you may be seated whenever you need to. page 70. We take a moment now to think of those in need of healing, whether of mind, of body, or of spirit. We think of congregants and friends and family of congregants, Jonathan Davidson, Ben Henderson, Kara Gilman, Rabbi Steve Robbins, Gloria Mangus, Leslie Ferris, Pamela Mangus, Johnny Sikat, Larry Miller, Martha Miller, Judy Richmond, Fernando Guerrero, Cordell Thomas, Ocean Joy Pace, Esther Bauman, Audrey Eller. If you're thinking of someone tonight, please mention their name as I look around the room. And have some names on Zoom. Rachel Heslin, Robin Kurland, Jan Eddie Sharon Archibek, Sandra Landis, Amy Morton, Phyllis Irvine, Sarah Heslin, Ron Jones, Chris Hanlon, Jerry Geerlings, Edwina Lietman. We continue with the Misha Perach, the prayer for healing.
Adonai v'nei rafeh
Hope is hard to find these days, yet we need it now more than ever. And hope can spring from the most desperate places, even from a site like the Twin Towers in New York City, destroyed on September 11th over 2 decades ago. Jane Goodall, the world's foremost expert on chimpanzees, recounts, "It was 10 years after that terrible day that I was introduced to the survivor tree, a calorie pear tree who had been discovered by a cleanup worker a month after the collapse of the towers, crushed between 2 blocks of cement. All that was left was half a trunk that had been charred black, with roots that were broken, and there was only one living branch. She was almost sent to the dump, but the young woman who found her, Rebecca Clow, begged that the tree be given a second chance. And so she went to be cared for in a nursery in the Bronx. Bringing the seriously damaged tree back to health was not an easy task, and it was touch and go for a while. But eventually she made it, and once she was strong enough, she was returned to be planted in what is now the 9/11 Memorial and Museum, and in the spring her branches are bright with blossoms. Last year, on the UN International Day of Peace, we gathered around the survivor tree. And then I saw it. I saw the neat perfection of the nest of some small bird. I imagined the parents feeding the nestlings. The survivor tree brought back from the dead had not only put out new leaves herself, but nurtured the lives of others. All it took was someone to believe in that little charred trunk, someone to believe in a different outcome than what everyone expected. It took someone with hope. Now, hope is not a Pollyannish attitude towards life, believing that problems will magically disappear. It's a choice about tackling the problems. Rabbi Betsy Forrester explains that false hope only masks anxiety. Real hope is a commitment. Jane Goodall makes a distinction between optimism and hope. Optimism is a disposition of mind. Hope is a stubborn determination to do all you can to make it work. And hope is something that we can cultivate. Hope does not deny all the difficulty and all the danger that exists, but it's also not stopped by them. There's a lot of darkness, but our actions create light. I think we all need to find some light right now in what often appears to be a very dark world. For the high holidays this year, my theme is the Garden of Eden. The creation story that takes place there is in fact one of the readings for this holiday. After all, Rosh Hashanah is the birthday of the world. As we say in our liturgy, today the world is born. Hayom Harat Ha'olam. And more importantly, the picture of an ideal world, an Eden, lends itself to what I would like to speak about tonight, hope. Ideals are key because they can give us the courage to forge ahead despite formidable odds. Take, for example, the Ethiopian Jews who made it to Israel in the 1980s, trudging through the desert for weeks under awful conditions before being airlifted to Israel. One of them, Michal Avera Samuels, explains that her community did not know that Solomon's temple had been destroyed. They tried to remain pure in order to deserve entering the temple, and reaching the temple served as their North Star as they made their way out of Ethiopia. She writes, "The ideal of Jerusalem was a force that provided us with the stamina to persevere during the arduous trek through the desert. It was the dream that kept us going. We wanted to reach it, achieve it. We buried our beloved family members, left possessions behind willingly, and lost them to vicious thieves. We struggled to keep going, despite the terrible conditions and the hunger, only because of our goal to reach Jerusalem of gold, and after so many generations, stand at the gates of the Holy Temple." Hope is a survival trait, says Jane Goodall. When we face adversity, It is hope that gives us the confidence to rally our indomitable spirit to overcome it. Resilience is linked to the belief that we can make a difference in our lives and the lives of others. And hope really gives us the will to not only heal ourselves, but to make the world a better place. Now, you might find it surprising, but hope is actually a very Jewish value. The late chief rabbi of Great Britain, Sir Jonathan Sacks, tells us Western civilization is the product of two cultures, ancient Greece and ancient Israel. The Greeks believed in fate. The future is determined by the past. Jews believed in freedom. There is no evil decree that cannot be averted. The Greeks gave the world the concept of tragedy. Jews gave it the idea of hope. Think about our central story, the story of the Exodus. The Israelite slaves were in bondage for hundreds of years. If the story were told in ancient Greece, that would be their fate forever. But in the Hebrew Bible, one of those slaves, Moses, had a very different vision of the future. Israelites would be freed from their bondage in a land of their own. The Exodus story tells us that our circumstances do not define us, and that we can change those circumstances for a better future. So hope is really a decision to fight against the odds, no matter how forbidding. Holocaust survivor Elie Wiesel said, one must wager on the future. I believe it is possible, in spite of everything, to believe in friendship in a world without friendship, and even to believe in God in a world where there has been an eclipse of God's face. We must not give in to cynicism. To save the life of a single child, no effort is too great. To make a tired old man smile is to perform an essential task. To defeat injustice and misfortune, if only for one instant, for a single victim, is to invent a new reason to hope. Now, this is not to deny that there is much to be concerned about in our world. There's an awful war going on in Ukraine. The coronavirus pandemic, which has wreaked so much havoc, is not over. And now we have monkeypox and even polio. Climate change is accelerating. Gun violence is a daily occurrence. Our right to abortion has been taken away. And democracies are at risk in so many places, including here in the United States. Yet, according to a recent New York Times article, on many metrics, the world is generally becoming better off. War is rarer today, by some measures, than it has been for most of the past 50 years. Genocides and mass atrocities are less common. Life expectancy, literacy, and standards of living have all risen to historic heights. Also, steadily declining in recent decades, hunger, child mortality, and extreme poverty. So, why does it often feel like, despite all the data, things are only getting worse? Well, there are a few reasons for this. The ways in which the world is most significantly improving tends to be gradual, unfolding over generations. And many of the positive changes are about prevention. So no one notices the wars that don't happen, the family members who aren't claimed by disease, the children who don't die in infancy. And thanks to the internet, with new consumption far greater than it once was, even those who live far from crises now live in a digital world of constant dire updates. If your social media feeds and home screens serve up a steady stream of calamities, they can feed an overwhelming, sometimes misplaced sense of threat, as if the world itself were caving in. Still, the feeling that the world is getting worse is not universal. In fact, it is mostly held by residents of rich countries like the United States. Survey after survey has found that a majority of people in low-income and middle-income countries like Kenya or Indonesia tend to express optimism about the future for both themselves and their societies. Maybe we should stop a moment and see the bigger picture. Maybe we need to take the long view. In the end, hope is really a strategy, not a feeling, and it is within our power to call it forth. How can we do that? Author Douglas Abrams tells us that hope science has identified 4 components that are essential for any lasting hope in our lives. We need to have realistic goals to pursue, as well as realistic pathways to achieve them. In addition, we need the confidence that we can achieve these goals and the support to help us overcome adversity along the way. We must choose to have hope. In the words of Howard Zinn, historian, human history is a history not only of cruelty, but also of compassion, sacrifice, courage, kindness. What we choose to emphasize in this complex history will determine our lives. If we see only the worst, it destroys our capacity to do something. If we remember those times and places, and there are so many, where people have behaved magnificently, this gives us the energy to act, and at least the possibility of sending the spinning top of a world in a different direction. And if we do act, in however small a way, we don't have to wait for some grand utopian future. The future is an infinite succession of presents, and to live now as we think human beings should live, in defiance of all that is bad around us, is itself a marvelous victory. Well, you might say, changing the world takes a lot of time. I don't have an unlimited number of years to see the change I want. So we need to keep our eyes on the prize, even if the prize is far into the future. The example of Honi the circle maker is instructive. Honi, whose story appears in the Talmud, is a kind of Rip Van Winkle who sleeps for 70 years. Here's his story. One day, Honi was journeying on the road, and he saw a man planting a carob tree. He asked, "How long does it take for this tree to bear fruit?" The man replied, 70 years. Honi then further asked him, "Are you certain that you will live another 70 years?" The man replied, "I found already grown carob trees in the world. As my forefathers planted those for me, so I too plant these for my children." Honi sat down to have a meal, and sleep overcame him. As he slept, a rocky formation enclosed upon him which hid him from sight, and he slept for 70 years. When he awoke, he saw a man gathering the fruit of the carob tree, and Honi asked him, "Are you the man who planted the tree?" The man replied, "I am his grandson." Thereupon Honi exclaimed, "It's clear that I have slept for 70 years." The lesson to take from this story is that one needs to believe in and build a future, even if we ourselves may not be there to experience it, and even if we are not recognized for what we do. We must plant seeds for our grandchildren so they might experience a better world. After all, that is our obligation as Jews. In the words of Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, to be a Jew is to be an agent of hope in a world serially threatened by despair. Every ritual, every mitzvah, every syllable of the Jewish story is a protest against escapism, resignation, or the blind acceptance of fate. Judaism is a sustained struggle against the world that is in the name of the world that could be, should be, but is not yet. Let's you and I set about to change the world for the sake of our children and our grandchildren.
אני ואתה נשנה את העולם. אני ואתה, אז יבוא כבר כולם. אמרו את זה קודם לפניי, זה לא משנה. אני ואתה נשנה את העולם. אני ואתה ננסה מההתחלה. יהיה לנו רע, אין דבר זה לא נורא. את זה קודם, לפניי זה לא משנה. אני ואתה נשנה את העולם. אני ואתה נשנה את העולם.
And that song says, "You and I will change the world." I'd like to call up our current president, David Crone, and our past president, immediate past president, Amy Pearlstein, to open the ark for the Avinu Malkeinu, which is on page 76, and we rise. And we do this responsively. I'll read the Hebrew and you read the English. Avinu Malkeinu ein lanu melech ela ata.
Avinu Malkeinu, Almighty and merciful, you alone are our sovereign.
Avinu Malkeinu, lemancha rachem aleinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, for your sake, show us mercy.
Avinu Malkeinu, aseh imanu lema'an shemecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, act toward us as befits your name.
Avinu Malkeinu, shalach refuah shlema lecholei amecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, bring healing and wholeness to the ill among us.
Avinu Malkeinu, kara ro'ah gazar dinenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, allay the harshness of the decree against us.
Avinu Malkeinu, kotvenu b'sefer geula v'yeshua.
Avinu Malkeinu, inscribe us in the book of redemption and renewal.
Avinu Malkeinu, zachrenu bezichron tov lefanecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, remember our goodness and call it to mind.
Avinu Malkeinu, aseh lema'ancha v'hoshi'enu.
Avinu Malkeinu, act for your sake and save us.
Avinu Malkeinu, shema kolenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, Almighty and merciful, hear our voice.
Avinu Malkeinu, chatanu lefanecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, we have strayed and sinned before you.
Avinu Malkeinu, hamol aleinu ve'al olaleinu v'tapenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, have compassion on us and our families.
Avinu Malkeinu, kaleh dever v'cherev v'ra'av me'aleinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, halt the onslaught of sickness, violence, and hunger.
Avinu Malkeinu, kaleh kol tsar umastin me'aleinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, halt the reign of those who cause pain and terror.
Avinu Malkeinu, kotvenu b'sefer chaim tovim.
Avinu Malkeinu, enter our names in the book of lives well lived.
Avinu Malkeinu, chadesh aleinu shana tova.
Avinu Malkeinu, renew us for a year of goodness.
Avinu Malkeinu, shema kolenu. Avinu Malkeinu, chatanu lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu, chamo aleinu, ve'yalol aleinu, v'tapenu. Avinu Malkeinu, kaleh dever v'cherev v'rav me'aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, kaleh chutzar u'mastin me'aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, kodvenu b'sefer chaim tovim. Avinu Malkeinu, chadesh aleinu, chadesh aleinu, shana tova. Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, chadesh aleinu, shana tova. Avinu Malkeinu, shema
You may be seated. This reminds me, my very first high holiday service was in Seminole, Oklahoma. Luckily, there were 25 people far away from anybody I ever knew. And I was doing everything myself, singing. That's cute, right? I did take singing lessons that summer, and I did the Torah chanting. I did everything myself. So I did the Torah chanting, and all of a sudden this little old lady goes, "Can we sit down now?" I'd forgotten to tell them to sit down, and they were like, "Simon says," I didn't say. So first of all, I would like to thank my very good friend and colleague, Rabbi Cheryl Rosenstein, for your beautiful, beautiful singing, and Sheldon Lee for your beautiful piano playing, and Nick Guadaloni back there, who is doing our tech tonight. It takes a village. Yes. Carol Lee, of course, for chanting, for doing everything Carol Lee does. And we'll have many more people to thank tomorrow. Also, of course, the office, Marcella, I don't think she's still here, but did a lot of work to get us here today. We are going to start tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. for our morning service. There is going to be a children's service at 3 o'clock in the Rose Garden in Fairmont Park, followed by Tashlich. We are not going to throw breadcrumbs, we're going to throw stones. And that's the new thing, apparently, because it's not a good idea to throw this kind of food to our wildlife. And also for those who are interested in a second day of Rosh Hashanah, Temple Emmanuel Congregation Emmanuel has invited us to join them. There's some flyers out on the desk there, but it's also at 10 a.m. And I think that's it for announcements. And we are going to continue with the Aleinu, which is on page 81. But first, before the Aleinu, I'm going to read a little piece by Rabbi Israel Salanter. This rabbi, who is the guy who really was the founder of Musar, which is developing moral virtues, once spent the night at a shoemaker's home. Late at night, he saw the man working by the light of a flickering candle. "Look how late it is," the rabbi said. "Your candle is about to go out. Why are you still working?" The shoemaker replied, "As long as the candle is burning, it is still possible to mend." For weeks afterwards, Rabbi Salanter was heard repeating the shoemaker's words to himself. As long as the candle is burning, it is still possible to mend. As long as the candle burns, as long as the spark of life still shines, we can mend and heal, seek forgiveness and reconciliation, begin again. So the Aleinu is on page 82, and Barbara and Gary Droutman are coming up to open the ark, and we rise.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי ארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגור עלינו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, קרקע ידעת היום והשבות אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל ועל הארץ ועל הארץ מתחת עינות. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו 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 אחד.
You may be seated. We take a moment now to think of those who are no longer with us. May their memories be for a blessing. Is anyone here in Shiva, Shloshim, or the first year of mourning and would like to mention a name? First year, Sean Heslin, Ruth Landis, Joanne Heslin, Michael Irvine. First year, Phil Bush, Edith Tanazaki, Janice Levy. First year, Judith Cohen, Elena Archibek. And we're observing yard sites for Lee Siegel, Abraham Herman, Minnie B. Tour, Frank Dahlia Jr., June Rose Goldware, Fanny Goldware, Arnold Farber, Buell Perkins, Wolfie Ice, Bruce Gailey, Jack Gersh, Steve Robard, Henry Ehrlich, Morris Kirshner, Dorothy Kurland, Sanford Dick, Molly Gordon, Celia Oringer, Joan Bradley Clapham, Grace Brill, Rose Cohen, Rose Weinberg, Meyer Levitt, Sarah Chernak. Is anyone else observing a yard site? Anybody on Zoom observing a yard site? And of course, we think of those who perished in the Holocaust and have no one to say the mourner's Kaddish for them. Please join me on page 90 as we rise. Yikadal v'yikadash shemei rabbah.
Amen.
Be'alma divrach yechutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayachon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uv'izman kariv imru. Amen. Yehei shemei rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yitale v'yitalal shemei dekudusha b'richu. La'ela ula'ela mikol birchata v'shirata. Tushbachata v'nechemata. Da'amiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabbah min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. V'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, huya aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru. Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved, as together we say, Amen. So Cantor Bob may not any longer be standing next to me. He's still telling me what to do over here on Zoom, okay? But he's right. I should have thanked the choir and Cantor Bob for their beautiful music that thank God Morris Maduro recorded it over a couple of years, and Morris and Jory did some editing and made it all beautiful, so thank you. Thanks, Bob. We end with Adon Olam, and I just closed my books.
Page 94.
Thank you, 94, yes.
Adon Olam Hashem Malach B'terem kol yitzir nivra la'ed Shana Tova Umetuka, everyone.
Shana Tova.
Good,
See you
sweet year.
tomorrow morning.
First of all, thank you again for understanding. I don't understand, but you do. So good.
You know what? It occurred to me while in the middle of that you would be better if you had whole matrix because tomorrow. But it's up to you. But okay, that's why we usually do it. Let me just turn this. Stop this. It's just that what I'm concerned about.
Right.
What I'm concerned about is that in the morning, people are not going to do. There won't be as many people because it's a weekday, and so that's why we usually do it in the evening. So. Is that your think about it and let me know. I can also.
I mean, I can do either one. It's just for me, dragging it out in the evening, I get exhausted. So
Well, it's up to you.
but I don't know what the other. Well, I mean, it's going to be done. It's just take a look and see. It's just. Yeah. I always thought. Yes. Let me know what my kids are going to be.
Well, maybe because there was a 12. Why don't you judge as a sake of this whole thing?
Good question. So my date of your bar mitzvah.
Do you still live your friend?
She's still in the hospital, but is probably going to be out of the hospital until she's out of the hospital.
April 15th. You're here to talk to me. I thought you were here for Rabbi.
I was actually here to talk to you about the rabbi. Said something.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes. Yeah, there were some emails about that. Yeah. Well, I didn't, there was some email communications where she said, nonsense, of course I'll be here for that. Yeah. So
Yeah, she'd be here, of course, for the confirmation service.
and then I think she was saying that.
She said maybe one more.
Yeah. They were talking, there's actually talk, there's also talk about moving the confirmation service up a week, and I think that's what's going to happen too. Because, and I forget there was something there.
But that means that we can find a real bang up job.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Thank you for thinking about it.